Hello, seems like ages since I read to you. I hope you've had a nice half term and I hope you're ready to do some good work this term now. It's a really disappointing thing we're not back in school yet, but we just have to be safe and try our best to do what we're asked to do. So what you're being asked to do is try your best at home. I'm going to do my best to help you. This book that I've chosen to read is called The Wild Robot. I'll read you the blurb on the back. It says, when Robot Roz opens her eyes for the first time, she discovers that she's alone on a remote wild island. She has no idea how she got there or what her purpose is, but she knows that she needs to survive. But as Roz slowly befriends the animals, the island starts to feel like home until one day her mysterious past comes back to haunt her. Wow, now this is written and illustrated by a man called Peter Brown. Now Peter Brown has written lots of children's books, but this is the first book he's written for children of your age. He said he started writing it, working on it 6 years before it was published, and it took him 2.5 years of working on nothing else but this book. 2.5 years work in this book. I reckon it must be pretty good. So do a lot of other people. Let's see what we think of it. It's written in chapters, and this book has got 80 chapters. They're very short, some of them are only a page long. So it's the kind of book that if you wanted to get it off Amazon maybe, it cost me $6.99. If you wanted to get a copy, you wouldn't feel too daunted by reading it because the chapters are super short and you'd be able to manage that really easily. I'm going to read it to you. The first chapter is called The Ocean. I'm going to read the first 4 chapters to you in this little section. Chapter 1, The Ocean. Oh, I also meant to say, there are lots and lots of really powerful verbs in here. Now, we've been working hard on powerful verbs at school this year. Remember your volcano writing especially, when we talked about the gushing lava and the mountain exploding and splattering lava everywhere, all that kind of stuff. There's some really, really, really powerful verbs here. See how many you can spot. The ocean. Our story begins on the ocean, with wind and rain and thunder and lightning and waves. A hurricane roared and raged through the night, and in the middle of the chaos, a cargo ship was sinking down, down, down to the ocean floor. The ship left hundreds of crates floating on the surface, but as the hurricane thrashed and swirled and knocked them around, the crates also began sinking into the depths. One after another, they were swallowed up by the waves until only 5 crates remained. By morning, the hurricane was gone. There were no clouds, no ships, no land in sight. There was only calm water and clear skies, and those 5 crates lazily bobbing along an ocean current. Days passed, and then a smudge of green appeared on the horizon. As the crates drifted closer, the soft green shape slowly sharpened into the hard edges of a wild, rocky island. The first crate rode to shore on a tumbling, rumbling wave, and then crashed against the rocks with such force that the whole thing burst apart. Now, reader, what I haven't mentioned is that tightly packed inside each crate was a brand new robot. The cargo ship had been transporting hundreds of them before it was swept up in the storm. Now only 5 robots were left. Actually, only 4 were left, because when that first crate crashed against the rocks, the robot inside shattered to pieces. The same thing happened to the next crate. It crashed against the rocks and robot parts flew everywhere. Then it happened to the next crate and the next. Robot limbs and torsos were flung onto ledges. A robot head splashed into a tide pool. A robot foot skittered into the waves. And then came the last crate. It followed the same path as the others, but instead of crashing against the rocks, it sloshed against the remains of the first 4 crates. Soon more waves were heaving it up out of the water. It soared through the air, spinning and glistening until it slammed down to a tall shelf of rock. The crate was cracked and crumpled, but the robot inside was safe. There it is, look, on top of that ledge. Chapter 2. The Otters. Excuse me. The island's northern shore had become something of a robot gravesite. Scattered across the rocks were the broken bodies of 4 dead robots. They sparkled in the early morning light, and their sparkles caught the attention of some very curious creatures. A gang of sea otters was romping through the shallows when one of them noticed the sparkling objects. The otters all froze. They raised their noses to the wind, but they smelled only the sea, so they cautiously crept over the rocks to take a closer look. The gang slowly approached a robot torso. The biggest otter stuck out his paw and swatted the heavy thing and quickly jumped back, but nothing happened. So they wriggled over to a robot hand. Another brave otter stuck out her paw and flipped the hand over. It made a lovely clinking sound on the rocks, and the otters squeaked with delight. They spread out and played with robot arms and legs and feet. More hands were flipped. One of the otters discovered a robot head in a tide pool, and they all dove in and took turns rolling it along the bottom. And then they spotted something else. Overlooking the gravesite was one surviving crate. Its sides were scraped and dented, and a wide gash ran across its top. The otters scampered up the rocks and climbed into the big box. 10 furry faces poked through the gash, eager to see what was inside. What they saw was another brand new robot. But this robot was different from the others. It was still in one piece, and it was surrounded by spongy packing foam. The otters reached through the gash and tore at the foam. Oh, it was so soft and squishy. They squeaked as they snatched at the fluffy stuff. Shreds of it floated away on the sea breeze, and in all the excitement, one of their paws accidentally slapped an important little button on the back of the robot's head. Click. It took a while for the otters to realise that something was happening inside the crate, but a moment later they heard it, a low whirring sound. Everyone stopped and stared, and then the robot opened her eyes. Chapter 3. The Robot. To show you the picture of the otters. These pictures in here are really lovely. There you go, aren't they sweet? Chapter 3. The Robot. The robot's computer brain booted up. Her programs began coming online, and then, still packed in her crate, she automatically started to speak. Now, I've had a conversation with myself. This is me talking now. And I've decided she's an American robot, okay? Hello, I am Rosum, Unit 7134, but you may call me Roz. While my robotic systems are activating, I will tell you about myself. Once fully activated, I will be able to move and communicate and learn. Simply give me a task and I will complete it. Over time, I will find better ways of completing my tasks. I will become a better robot. When I am not needed, I will stay out of the way and keep myself in good working order. Thank you for your time. I am now fully activated. I might just say, it depends how much talking she does. I might not stick with that. You can let me know what you think. Chapter 4. The Robot Hatches. As you might know, robots don't really feel emotions. Not the way animals do. And yet, as she sat in her crumpled crate, Roz felt something like curiosity. She was curious about the warm ball of light shining down from above. So her computer brain went to work and she identified the light. It was the sun. The robot felt her body absorbing the sun's energy. With each passing minute, she felt more awake. When her battery was good and full, Roz looked around and realised she was packed inside a crate. She tried to move her arms, but they were restrained by cords. Sorry, that's my dishwasher draining. It's quite distracting. She tried to move her arms, but they were restrained by cords. So she applied more force. The motors in her arms hummed a little louder, and the cords snapped. Then she lifted her hands and pulled apart the crate. Like a hatchling breaking from a shell, Roz climbed into the world. And there she is. I cannot wait to find out what happens now that Roz is out of her packaging. We will find out tomorrow. All my love to all of you. Miss you lots. Remember you're precious, and I will see you soon. Thank you very much for listening. Bye-bye.